so good to be in England again and again. Hi, everybody. It's packed. This is great. Who is it? Ladies and gentlemen, oh dear, Robbie.
So sorry.
Wow. That was quite an entrance.
I am so sorry. I saw a little thing down there. Hi. Wow.
I know it is
great.
wow, huh?
This is great. This is like, this echo that I'm hearing here reminds me, I sang the national anthem at Dodger Stadium. That's the big stadium. It sounded like this. Hi. You guys ready for a big weekend? I remember 4 years ago what you guys do here. You're crazy. You are crazy. What? The what? Certifiable, absolutely. And I have to tell you, today, Ethan Phillips and myself, we rode on the tallest, fastest roller coaster in the world right here in Blackpool. Woo! And I have to say, Ethan was a sissy, kind of a girly girl, he was crying and whining and everything. I gave him a big hug and he's okay. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you later.
Hey, thanks, Robbie. Mr. Richard Hurd, it's Tom Paris's father.
Well, he finally gave me a grandchild, huh? Don't have any of our own. It's really being a pleasure back up here. Your Supreme Commander from V is very proud being amongst all you lovely people. I thought we have a lot of V people. Admiral Noyce from Sequest and Admiral Paris. I feel like I'm in such wonderful company with all of these marvelous people you're about to meet. And my wife Patricia and I wish you both the best, and I hope I have the opportunity of meeting many of you over the weekend. And God bless and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I can't get it back. I did it.
All
Take
right.
care.
That way. Yep. Now, I think next we have the man who went roller coaster riding with Robbie McNeil. Mr. Ethan Phillips!
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. God bless you. God, there's a lot of you. Wow. Hi.
Wow, is right.
Hi, Lolita.
Hi, John.
Hi. I don't know what to say other than I'm very happy to be here. I'm suing the city of Blackpool because of that roller coaster ride. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ethan. That way. Okay, next we have somebody that did 3 seasons of First Wave and most recently appeared in Voyager. Labelle!
Wow, this is incredible. Well, it's a great pleasure to be here, and I got to say, after working on First Wave as Crazy Eddie for 3 years, to come off of that and do one more episode of Star Trek Voyager was a great treat, and particularly wonderful to work alongside Mr. Ethan Phillips once more. And I'm really excited to be here. It's great to see everybody. Hope everybody has a kick-ass weekend. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have somebody who's appeared in 4 Star Trek series and has played 9 different characters. Mr. Vaughn Armstrong. Yay!
Oh, Lord. I can't tell you how pleased as punch I am to be here.
Look at you guys, man. There's more people out here than I have foreheads. I love it. I'm kind of confused about who I am myself after all these foreheads, but I can't wait to meet everybody. This looks like a heck of a party, and I'm told a lot of the guys backstage party as hardy as you do, so we're gonna have a good weekend.
Yeah!
And I gotta tell you, I'm looking forward to being my first human being on the Enterprise, so that maybe I'll know who I am by then. But I'm pleased as punch to be here. We'll see you guys in a little while. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have somebody who was very privileged to play Catherine Janeway's Irish love interest. Yes, Mr. Fenton McEwen.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here. It's a beautiful day. I hope you're all enjoying yourself. The sun's shining and this huge crowd. It's really, really thrilling. It's really thrilling. As thrilling as being on the starship itself. And I'm delighted to see you all. I hope I'll get to meet some of you later. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Now, next we have a great guest, because he's not only John De Lancie's real-life son, he's Q's son, Mr. Keegan De Lancie.
Yeah, wow.
That's what everybody said. Wow.
Yeah. Man, there are a whole lot of people here. Well, I don't know, I'm really amazed to be here, partly because, it's a foreign country and that's really cool, but also because I've only done one episode. And yet I'm still here, that's really cool. It should be amazing, this is an amazing setup. I mean, we've got the, whoa!
That is you up there, isn't it?
Hold on, if I turn around fast enough, I might be able to see myself. Hold on, I can get, almost. All right, well, I'll see everybody later, all right.
Thank you. And next we have the very favorite doctor of all of Star Trek, I believe, Mr. Robert Picardo!
Thank you. My name is Tim Russ. Tim has been delayed. Apparently, on the flight over from the States, he experienced the farr. I don't know exactly what happened, but I understand that one of the lavatories was locked for an hour and a half. It's great to be back here in England. I'm looking forward to having Bubble and Squeak for breakfast. Then I thought maybe I'd have bangers and mash for lunch. Don't know what I'm going to have for dinner, but I know I'm going to have a spotted dick with cream for dessert. You have a talent for naming things. What other country would they pick a lovely place for a seaside resort and say, let's call it Blackpool? Isn't that a nice name for a pretty resort? But why not Steaming Cauldron? Or Scum Puddle? Anyway, it's a beautiful place to be, and I'm very happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to a fun meeting. with each one of you this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Yay! Woo! Okay. Next we have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful lady, better known as the Borg Queen, Alice Krieger.
I've never been to Blackpool, and I can't think of a more brilliant way to come than to a British Star Trek con, because I know you have the best parties. It was a wonderful last-minute surprise for me. I hope for you. Now, before I start assimilating people, I better get off the stage. Bye.
Thank you. And last but not least, the most beautiful woman in all of Star Trek, Miss Kate Mulgrew.
Thank you. Sick. Thank you. Hail Britannia. It's taken me 7 long years to get here. But as you know, I had a little job to do. I had to get my crew home. Having done that, the moment we touched on Federation Earth, I turned to my fearless four, Mr. Tuvok, Mr. Paris, the doctor, and my beloved Neelix, and I said, okay, boys, we're going to Blackpool. I want very much to thank you all for coming. I understand that many of you come from far away, and that all of you have made a significant effort to be here. I pledge to you, first, that I am going to have a wonderful time this weekend. And second, not one person in this room will leave Blackpool without an autographed picture of mine. All right. Let's have a great weekend, and God bless England.
It's got to be loud. I know it's early. I promised Bob Picardo I would say, I am your wake-up call this morning, so. I have to say, though, this is wonderful to have finished 7 years, and, we finished back in April, and everybody went their separate ways very quickly. And this is a wonderful event. I haven't seen Kate Mulgrew since we finished in April. I haven't seen Tim. So this has been a really wonderful week for me to have this reunion with everybody and see everybody. So I want to thank you guys for that, because this has really been, it's been a pleasure.
Hi.
Hi.
How did you get involved in Star Trek Voyager? And did your appearance in Star Trek Next Gen have anything to do with it?
How did I get involved? You guys heard that. I don't have to repeat it. How did I get involved? Yes, I did this episode of The Next Generation, The First Duty. Do you guys remember that episode? Anybody out there? I did the episode of Next Gen, and I think that was a very successful episode. From what I heard afterwards, the fans really enjoyed that episode. It was very popular, and the Paramount Studios really liked that character, Nick Locarno, that I play, the guy who got in trouble, and I did hear a a couple years after I did The Next Generation, they were developing this new show, which was Deep Space Nine, and they were talking about bringing Nick Locarno, who I played on Next Generation. They were talking about bringing that character onto Deep Space Nine, which would have made a lot of sense because he got in trouble in Next Gen, and so they thought, well, we'll bring him back, and he's trying to redeem himself as like a freighter pilot or something. And so they toyed around with that idea of bringing the character onto Deep Space Nine, and ultimately never did it. And so when Voyager came up, they went back to that same idea. They thought, well, what about Nick Locarno again? Maybe he could be on Voyager, and they used the basis of that character to develop Tom Paris. So yes, it absolutely had a lot to do with me getting on Voyager, and I'm glad that happened. It just goes to show you never know sometimes how a small part or a brief kind of job might lead to something much bigger. So yes, that had a lot to do with it. Who's next? Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, it is morning, isn't it?
Yes, it is. What did you do after Voyager?
What did I do after Voyager? I have actually I've been very busy, which has been great. We finished Voyager on, I can't remember the date, I think it was like April 9th or something. And we finished on like a Thursday, and the next day I flew out to do a movie, and I made a horror movie, which was a lot of fun. I'd never made a horror movie. I'd always wanted to be in one of those, disgusting horror movies. So I went off and made this movie right after Voyager. And then I came back and I did an Outer Limits episode. You guys know that show? Do you get that show over here, Outer Limits? I did Outer Limits, their series finale, which I guess they've had a couple series finales because they keep getting picked up every year. So they think it's over and then they get picked up for another year. What's that? What is the name of it? That's a good... Oh, no, the name of it is called The Human Factor. And it was interesting, something different for me because I got to play a character who lived on a spaceship, and it was a show about the end of humanity, that we were going to die, but we didn't, and that was all something new. No, it was interesting to do because I've been on Voyager for 7 years and in a Starfleet uniform and all of that, and I go to do Outer Limits, and it's a different spaceship and a different spacesuit, and it actually was very interesting. It made me appreciate Star Trek doing that because Star Trek, they have such high quality, in everything they do. The sets, has anybody in here ever been to Paramount and seen the sets? There must be a few people. You lucky. Yeah, now everyone hates all of you. Just want to point you out. But no, if you go there and you see the quality of what they do at Paramount and for Star Trek, it's the best. The sets are the best, they're finished beautifully, the costumes are done beautifully, the quality is just, you don't get any better than Star Trek. And nothing against the Outer Limits, but I got up to Vancouver to do Outer Limits, and their spaceship was like an old, computer from 10 years ago, kind of made to look, everything was kind of temporary, and they pulled things together, and it was kind of flimsy, and the walls didn't quite, come together, and I just realized how lucky I'd been for 7 years to work on a show that had the quality that Star Trek had. So anyway, so I did Outer Limits, and I've just been working on a show called West Wing. Do you know that show? Anybody know that show? Yeah. Oh. I actually, not as an actor, but as a director, there's a man there named, he's the executive producer, Tommy, and he invited me to come observe on West Wing and to hopefully work with that company. So I've been assisting him or working on that show for a couple of weeks, right till I came here, and that's been great. I leave to do Dawson's Creek. I'm directing on Dawson's Creek, that show. Dawson's Creek, yeah. And then, the most exciting for all of us here is I'm directing right after that on Enterprise, the new Star Trek show. Woo! So I've been very lucky, to answer your question. I really feel very fortunate that I've been busy since we finished, and I've gone from one thing to another, and hopefully that'll continue. So that's what I've been doing. Who's next? Yes, hi.
Hi, Robbie.
Hi.
What was the biggest, funniest blooper that you ever made in Voyager?
The funniest blooper that I ever made. Oh, God. Wow. I don't know. I hate these questions. The biggest blooper that I ever made. I don't know. The first thing that comes to mind, like funny things, is I remember one time, we all tease each other. We get to know each other so well, we tease each other, and we used to tease Garrett because whenever Garrett is up on the bridge and it's an intense scene, with some space battle or something like that, Garrett always delivers his lines. Everybody has their things they do, and Garrett's thing he does is when he's delivering his lines, he always speaks with a certain kind of quality. And Garrett will say things like, "Captain, I see many ships approaching from starboard, Captain." And it kind of just does this kind of, it always kind of goes up, and he seems to, so we were teasing him one day, and he was so mad, and we were all laughing about everyone was doing their lines like as if Garrett was doing it. And so when it came to my close-up, and the camera was just on me down front, I made a bet with Kate Mulgrew. I said, you know what, I bet you I can do my whole close-up down here like Garrett without cracking up. I'll do it, and it was a long scene. It was like 2 minutes long, and I had to do all my lines, Captain, Captain. I have to do it like that. So she bet me. I think she bet me $50. I know it was real money. It was a lot of money. She bet me $50, and so I did it. I made it through. I couldn't believe it. I made it through. And while I'm doing it, and the camera is only on me, behind me, out of the corner of my eye, I see Kate Mulgrew like on the floor. She's trying to control her laughter, and she's like falling on the floor, and Robert's like this, and Garrett's like getting mad, but I kept going. I kept, Captain. I can't, I don't remember what the lines were, but I just kept doing that thing. And I made it through the whole scene. Kate Mulgrew has still not paid me the $50. So, don't make a bet with Kate. I don't know, that's not really a blooper, but that was a funny thing. Hello.
What was it like filming the last episode? Was it sad, and did you play any practical jokes while filming?
We always play, but that goes without saying. We play practical jokes all the time. Was it sad? It was. I think it was. It had a lot of moments of sadness. It was very strange doing the last episode, to be honest with you. I remember at one point Bob Picardo came over to me, and I think we all had moments where it hit us that this was going to end. And one time Bob came over to me, and he wasn't working that day. He just came in because he said, I can't believe this is all going to be over, and we're not going to see each other. And he just came in because he really wanted to see everybody and say goodbye, and take every moment he could, and it was really sweet. I think we all had our moments of feeling sad, but in a strange way, because we've done it so long, I don't think we realized that it was really going to end. You know what I mean? I think we were so busy making that final episode, and it was such a big production that until it was really over, I don't think anyone realized that we'd never be seeing each other again at Paramount Studios, that we just assume, oh yeah, this is what we do. We'll always do it. So I think now, only now, coming, like I said before, coming to Blackpool where I get to see Kate or some of the other cast members, now it really is hitting all of us that it's over. But what's amazing about Star Trek is we can come to places like this, to conventions, and see each other and keep those relationships and those memories alive. So that's thanks to you guys. So thank you.
Hi. Hello,
Hi.
Robert.
Good morning.
Morning. I've seen you about 3 years ago in Germany on FedCon 7.
Yes.
And there you told a story about Tim Russ playing a practical joke on you during doing a mind meld on Ex Post Facto.
Yes.
Can you tell anything about it?
Yeah, that story with Tim Russ was, this was the first season, I think, and this was the very first time that Tim Russ had done any a mind meld. It was the very first mind meld that Tuvok ever did. And you know, Tim was always, one thing that Tim was great at is he really wanted to maintain the integrity of all the Vulcan mythology. You know, anything that had been established with Spock, or you know, in any of the movies or any Vulcan mythology, he really wanted to be true to that. Sincerely, he really did, and I think he was great at that. But this was the first season, and he came in to do this mind meld in the morning, and we're in the makeup trailer, and he had like, I think he had Leonard Nimoy's book or something, and he was reading it going, you know, and he said to me, I really want to make this mind meld, you know, I want to do this the right way. I want this to be, you know, live up to the standards that Leonard Nimoy established as a Spock. And so he was very serious about it, and I was very impressed. I thought, wow, you know, he's really done a lot of homework and a lot of research, and I can't wait to see this, because I'd never seen a mind meld, to be honest with you. I didn't know what it was, so I thought, wow, this is going to be interesting. And all day he kept talking to the director, no, I really want to do this right, and I want this to be unforgettable, and you know, it's got to be good. And so anyway, we get to the scene, and we set up the camera, and we stage it, and usually before you shoot, you do one full out, you know, you'll do it once as a dress rehearsal, you know, full out like you're shooting. But Tim said, no, I don't want to do that. I want to really just go for it one time, and let's just roll the camera. And so, you know, everybody was very quiet, and like, we got to give Tim, you know, quiet to concentrate, and so they rolled the camera, and I was laying down in sick bay, and the doctor says, okay, Mr. Tuvok, you can come over and do your mind meld, and the camera's pushing in very close, and Tuvok comes down, and he's concentrating, and his face is all, you know, scrunched up, and he closes his eyes, and his head's shaking, and he's like, you know, he's very intense like this, and right next to my face, he got down like, you know, within an inch or two of my nose, and I'm looking up at him like, oh wow, this is intense. I'm so impressed. And shaking, and it's totally quiet, and all of a sudden he goes, ah, I feel good, na, na, na. But really, but it was really, really loud, and it was really close, and it was really scary, and it came out of nowhere. And I just freaked out. You know, I think I wet myself, I'm sure. It was just unbelievable. And no one knew he was going to do that. And the whole room just went crazy. So he really did a good job all day of setting us up. You know, we had no idea that he was going to do that. So I think that's still on film somewhere. They saved that. Yeah, somewhere you'll find that someday.
All right. I was just wondering if you had a lot of fun doing Masters of the Universe, and was Courtney Cox a good snog?
A good snug? Is that appropriate to say? It is appropriate, okay. Because that could mean a lot of things to me. I don't really know that word very well. Oh, a good hug. Hug, snug. Ah, okay. Because there's other words that I don't know. Anyway. Masters of the Universe was, yeah, it was a lot of fun to make. I was, I was very young. I was like 20, 21, a long time ago. No, it was a lot of fun. It was a big movie. You know, at the time it had a huge budget, and it was a lot of fun to make. It was great. We had a cast on Masters of the Universe that reminds me a lot of the Voyager cast. We were very close, except for Dolph Lundgren, quite honestly. He was kind of in his own thing. But everybody else, John Cypher, Chelsea Field, who was in the movie. Chelsea, by the way, is involved with, for many years now, has children with, but not married to, Scott Bakula, who's on Enterprise, the captain of the new show. So Chelsea, who I did Masters with, is, you know, Star Trek seems to touch everyone in some way. But we had a great time. Courtney was great. Courtney Cox and I were at the time very close friends. In fact, the movie went so far over schedule that the apartment that I had rented to live in, I had to leave, and so I lived with Courtney for a while. She offered me a room in her house, and I stayed with her for a while. She was great, very nice lady, and we've lost touch over the years. You know, people do different things, but I have nothing but wonderful things to say about her. She was a great lady, and we had a great time. We had a great time doing it. It's amazing to see, you know, I come to these conventions and I meet people now, you know, grown people who say to me, "Oh, I remember when I was a little kid and I saw you in Masters of the Universe," and I'm like, "Oh, thank you." You know, I'm that old that you were a little kid, but it's kind of a cult classic, that movie, I think. You know, it's become kind of a cult film. People just love seeing it, and they play it on TV. I see it all the time. You know, at midnight TV, it's on all the time. So, yeah, thank you.
Hello. You've done so well creating a character with a massive chip on his shoulder and always a smart aleck remark. Is that you? Is there anything like that in you, or are you just one hell of an actor?
I don't think I have a chip on my shoulder. I would say no to that. I don't think I do. Although that's a lot of fun to play. You know, actors always want to play the bad guy. So, you know, the good guys are much more boring than the bad guys. So when they called me for this role, and he was, in the beginning, he was the troublemaker and you know, the one that was had the chip on his shoulder and was the rebel or whatever. You know, that was very interesting to me. The one thing I'm very proud of with Tom Paris is I feel like every season he got to evolve in a different way. You know, I think all the characters did that, but for me, with Tom Paris, every year he seemed to change, you know, in a dramatic way, and really grow. And I think the things like his sarcastic humor, that was something that I think I had a lot to do with early on. Is I really wanted to define who he was, but I wanted him to be charming to the audience. And so I think the writers saw, they would see me goofing off, you know, before a take or something, or goofing off on the set, and they started to include that kind of spirit, you know, the kind of ironic humor that I would have. So
thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Welcome to Blackpool. Welcome, welcome. Anyway, I wanted you all to know before the day got too late, this is the way Bill Shatner really looks. Now, you may not, I'm sure you know that I worked with Bill for 3 years on T.J. Hooker. And my life has been unusual in the sci-fi genre in the sense of I have also worked with the new captain of the Enterprise, Scott. I did 2 Quantum Leaps, Future Boy, and Mirror Image. So we have Scott, and I think we should all send them a thundering applause for a great success on the new show. Let me hear those hands. Hear those hands. And you're going to have one of my esteemed colleagues, a wonderful man, Vaughn Armstrong, who I think he's already done one. He's already shot one of the Enterprise episodes. And I have a very dear friend also who's been on that from the get-go. I met him when I did, there was a motion picture, I don't know if you saw it, FIST, which means Federation of Interstate Truckers, with Sylvester Stallone. And Michael Westmore did the makeup on that. Then I worked with Michael when I had the fortune to come to your country, when I worked with Ian Richardson in Ike, the War Years, and Robert Duvall. We did a 10-hour miniseries, and Michael did the makeup on that. And my dream come true, you know, as a young actor, never having done a Star Trek, when I first was fortunate enough to be cast as Lakor, the Klingon in Birthright 1 and 2. When it was originally written, I was supposed to be Worf's father, and they decided that would clutter up the plot too much because he wouldn't go off and leave his dad on that planet. So, you know, Michael and I got along quite well. We did our grunts and groans. I went out, I got my impression made for my teeth. They put 3 hours of makeup. They gave me hair, which is non-existent on my own head. We had a wonderful time.
Hi, Richard.
Yes.
What did you enjoy working on the most? Was there a specific favourite in way of like best role actress?
Sure, I'll tell you. Yeah. Well, first of all, the dream come true naturally was my initial Star Trek. You know, having been a fan of Star Trek and having the opportunity to work on it. My favorite character on television was Mo Stein, Captain Galaxy, in the Future Boy episode of Quantum Leap. I really enjoyed doing that. My fun, I did 2 seasons, I think you get it here a bit. I did 2 seasons on Seinfeld as Mr. Wilhelm, which I enjoyed. And my favorite film would have been my work on Fist. But I have to tell you, I've been fortunate. I really liked working with Roy Scheider, too. Roy Scheider on Sequest, playing his commanding officer, Admiral Noyce. That was a very good experience. It was a shame about that show because it should have been a success. But what? Yeah, well, what happened was it should have remained a success in America, but they had the right formula. There's a story that goes with this because the Quantum Leap I did was written by Tommy Thompson, a wonderful writer. He wrote this wonderful script. And Tommy, through Mr. Spielberg, became executive producer of Sequest. And I was allowed to go in and, you know, they put me on tape, I auditioned, and Mr. Spielberg went on the show and so forth. And it had the right course at the beginning, but they started getting quivery, and we got new producers. Tommy left the show, who was the guiding light. He was the anchor of the show, the anchor of the scripts. And they started going off in various directions because you've got to realize the time span, I thought, didn't work too. I think it was like 2024 where Sequest took place. So they started getting panicky, and they started bringing in giant squids and mysterious voices from the bottom of the sea and lost continents. And we had a fabulous cast on that show. And what happened at the end of the first season, they fired everybody, and not, you know, they just didn't pick up your contract. They didn't pick up our contracts. Everybody that was over 40, they got rid of 6 people on the show. And they moved down to Florida. They were told they were going to save tons of money. It didn't work out. It ended up costing them more money to shoot it in Florida because the graphics weren't there. They were all out in LA. And they hired all of these nice people under 25, all these young people, and we used to call it Sea Hunk, you know, the old timers. But they should never have let really like Royce Applegate, who was the petty officer, and what's this wonderful actress, oh God, who was, Bingham, not Bingham. Thank you, Stephanie Beacham. Thank you so much. Stephanie Beacham, John D'Aquino, myself, and the other gal, Stacy Haddock. It was such a shame. And what they did when they went there, they had to give all of these, we started with 3 or 4 producers, and we ended up with 10 producers. And all those people that went to Florida, they had to give each one of them a house. They had to give each one of them a car. And the actors on the show, if you wanted a $500 raise, they couldn't find it. The reason they couldn't find it is they were putting it in their own pockets. Ha ha. So what else is new? Yes.
Basically, you worked on V, and you've probably been asked this question many times, but what was it like having your face ripped off as the Supreme Commander?
Oh, it was very sensual, lusty, all sorts of wonderful things. I'll tell you about that. We were very fortunate. That was also a Verna Klempra did the makeup on that. And we were very fortunate because that was a 3-hour makeup. What they did, over my own skin, they had to put the reptilian skin, and they had 7 sorts of glue for different parts, and they had to keep that kind of wet. And they did a mold of my head, and they created the other half of my face, and they put latex other half of my face over that with hair, and Faye, who ripped it off, they had a little place up there. Now, we also had to go out and had to be measured for a contact lens. Now, you don't know how fortunate you are, because even I, myself, we have these little contact lenses. The contact lenses that were worn years ago, ask your mums and dads if they wore them, covered the entire eye. And for the reptilian eye, because of the vertical iris, we had to have these contact lenses made that covered our whole eye with just a little pinpoint so we could see out. So we finished the makeup, we went in, and in the middle of this scene, as you know, she grabs and she rips it off. Well, we were fortunate because we got it in one take. If it had not been done in one take, they would have had to move on to another scene. I would have had to go back to makeup, and 4 hours later. What they did, they used 3 cameras, they got the rip. Now, she had to stop, and she had to stop at the area that covered my eye. And as they stopped, they just moved her hand a bit, and they had to pop in the lens, because it also, the tearaway revealed the reptilian eye as well. So the rip-off was fine. I was very happy that it was done in one take, and I feel so fortunate that I didn't have to eat a hamster, or a mouse. However, I did see Jane. Jane is such a fabulous gal who played Diana, Jane Badler. She went down to Australia to do Mission Impossible. She met this wonderful guy. They got married. They have 2 children. And she came up. We had a V reunion in Los Angeles. It was the first V reunion. Most of us were able to be there. And it was just great to see her, plus many of the others. And as you know, on the 4th of July, Independence Day, the new the DVD was released with all of the notes. I spoke to Kenny Johnson before I came over, and I haven't seen it myself, but he tells me it's just, they put in a lot of the stuff, and they have interviews, as you know, with Mark and with various members of the cast. It's supposed to be quite good. I don't think it's on sale here yet, but I'm sure you'd enjoy doing that. And yes, we did miss out. They called us on so many occasions about making the movie. Well, 3-4 times. They were going to make the movie. They were going to do another miniseries. They were going to bring me back even though I had been killed. And as you know, they waited so long that Independence Day came out. They made it for $70 million, and they made $600 million, which 2 to 1. So they probably made a profit of excess of $300 million on that film, Independence Day, which was, speaking of rip-offs, which was a rip-off of V.
I'd just like to say I think you did a really good job playing Michael. And my question was, how did you actually find working with Kate Mulgrew, and is she nice to kiss?
Well, we had to do it once or twice to get it right, but it's not all hard work. It was great working with Kate, and because of the nature of the relationship, and it's very much an intimate one-to-one relationship. It made for a lot of drama and excitement and intensity in those scenes that we had together. And I think we challenged one another, and I think we both rose to the challenge, and it was a great relationship to create and develop, and it was excellent.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
What was it like to
dance with Kate Mulgrew?
She's a very good dancer, and she took to the dancing so easily, and I had to learn it and prepare the steps, like literally overnight. So I was in my my hotel bedroom practicing dance steps the night before the dance, desperately trying to sort of choreograph it so that I wouldn't look like a fool. But it worked okay because we had a Steadicam, and the Steadicam makes everything look momentous and huge, so that you barely have to move for it to appear huge and big. I can't think of the word. Variety is something I want to do. I've been thinking about it. It might not make much sense, but I know that you're very cultivated and sophisticated audience of Star Trek fanatics who love life and a good joke and vulgarity and sensitivity all combined in one. So here we go. This is for you, Katie. Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt thaw and resolve itself into a dew, or that the everlasting had not fixed his cannon gainst self-slaughter. Oh God, how weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable seem to me all the uses of this world. Fie on it, oh fie, fie. It is an unweeded garden that grows to seed. Things rank and gross in nature possess it merrily, that it should come to this, but 2 months dead, nay, not so much, not 2, so excellent a king that was to this Hyperion, to a satyr, so loving to my mother, that he might not beteem the winds of heaven visit her face too roughly. Heaven and earth must I remember why she would hang on him, as if increase of appetite had grown by what it fed on, and yet within a month, let me not think on it frailty, thy name is woman, a little month, O ere those shoes were old with which she followed my poor father's body, like Niobe, all tears, why she, even she, O heaven, a beast that once discourse of reason would have mourned longer, married with mine uncle, my father's brother, but no more like my father than I to Hercules. Within a month, ere yet the salt of those most unrighteous tears had left the flushing of her galled eyes, she married. O most wicked speed to post with such dexterity to incestuous sheets. It is not, nor it cannot come to good, but break my heart, for I must hold my tongue. Well, not in this case.
Hi, Fenton.
Hi.
The other side. I'm from Ireland as well, and when I found out they were kind of going to do a holographic Irish-themed episode, I was a bit scared. I thought they might Americanize it and kind of have everyone walking around saying top of the morning to you and all that sort of stuff. How wary were you of that when you got the part, and did it affect it, or did it come up at all?
It was there, it was in the script, and you couldn't avoid it in ways, but what I tried to do was to moderate it so that rather than make it heavily accent, which is there, definitely. I know that some of the other actors relished their Irish accents, you get to do an Irish accent, and it's fantastic, and it stretches and everything, And I thought that I'd sort of try and moderate that, but I didn't want to shock everyone with, a totally unaccented character. I think that mostly people get it wrong when they think in terms of Irish characters as being, well, they might get it right sometimes, but incomprehensible, and I think a lot of actors and that play into that, and I try and avoid it, and just like speak clearly and distinctly, and you know, let the story speak for itself, let the lines speak for themselves, and but I try to reduce the kind of the level of the accent over the two episodes, so that by the end he was sort of almost accent free, and because like I'm Irish and I don't have that much of an accent, you know, and it's not something that I do deliberately, you know, just so yeah, I hope that it helps you.
With the ending of the show, I've been thinking a lot about the beginning of it and the audition process and how I came to play the Doctor. And I ran into a young man in a theater bookstore, and he said that a friend of his had gone to final auditions for the role of the Doctor on Voyager. And I said, "Oh, really?" And he said, "Yes." And he said when he didn't get it, his friend asked him what happened, and he said, "Well, they gave the part to some guy named Picardo. I guess if my name was Spocko, I would have had a chance." I don't know if you want us to speak at all about the finale of the show. I really won't give you any hints. No, I won't give you hints. But there is one enormous omission from the final episode of the show, and that is that Seven and the Doctor never get their big screen kiss. I was at a convention in the States with Jerry Ryan about a month ago, and I snuck into the audience and was way in the back. And I kept raising my hand like this, but holding my head in such a way that you wouldn't see who it was. And finally, she started to call on me, and she realized it was me, and she goes, "Yes." And I said, "Well, I don't know. How did you feel about this, you know, getting stuck with Chakotay instead of the Doctor?" And she laughed and said, "Well, how did you feel about it?" Or something like that. And I said, "Well, I think that the audience was really cheated out of the Doctor's and Seven's big screen kiss." And she said, "Oh, yeah?" And I said, "Yeah, and I thought maybe we could do something about that now." Knowing that we would get a big cheer from the audience. So I had them all in the palm of my hand. I ran up on stage and I got a big wet smack from Jerry, and it was worth waiting for. And I brought film of the event. No, I'm just kidding. I wish I had. Anyway, so every event that I'm at with Jerry, I'm going to play the same joke, I figured. Because I waited a long time for this.
First of all, I'd like to say good morning and welcome to Blackpool. And I know you guys are infamous for your pranks on stage. I just wanted to ask, what is your most daring prank or the funniest one you've done on the set?
Oh dear. I think you've heard some of the more famous ones that involve other cast members. I think probably everyone's most beloved prank was the day that Tuvok had to appear nude on the bridge in a dream sequence. And Tim had taken a large black sock and stuffed it to be used as a visual aid. Tied it around his waist. So when he removed the robe and we're all looking at him and he's behind the camera and we have to react to him supposedly being naked, you know, he was, how should I say this? He had had his program upgraded. And all of the other 7 cast members that were on film with me looked down and looked up and started to laugh. And I didn't bat an eye, because I figured as his physician, I'd already seen it.
Thank you.
I don't hear you. Are you on the microphone?
Sorry. Right, okay, I'll say that again. What was your feelings on the actual final episode? Were you completely happy with that, or could have you seen it ending another way?
But now, I don't want to get too specific in case there are purists out there who are waiting to see it in order. But I thought the final episode was an acting tour de force for Kate. I think she is absolutely splendid. And I think that there is a real emotional impact to a lot of the choices made in the final 2 hours. I'll be interested to hear the next time I'm here what you guys feel of what happens with the doctor at the end. I had mixed emotions about it. And I can't really say why without sort of spoiling it. But it was, I think that the last episode is very successful in terms of the whole series, but it's impossible to make 9 actors completely delighted with the conclusion of all of their character arcs. I think I shouldn't stand in the middle. So, although I liked a number of the scenes that I had to play in the finale, there were 1 or 2 little things that happened to the Doctor that I had mixed emotions about. And have any of you heard whether or not the Doctor actually gets a name?
Yeah.
You have heard?
Yes.
You haven't heard? Well, then I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say. He doesn't really get a name. He gets a hint of a name. I mean, if a name is a handle, then he gets a drawer pull. Just a tiny little.
All right, I was just wondering, in the film Wagons East, was it actually difficult to act after knowing when the actors actually died?
For those of you who don't know, Wagons East was the last movie that John Candy filmed. And he died during the shooting, very late in the schedule. And it was a very, very tragic and sad thing to have been part of. It was a difficult shoot anyway. We were on the high desert in Mexico for a period of about 10 weeks. And Mr. Candy was obviously a very big man and carried quite a lot of weight, and it was very hot where we were shooting, and it was at high altitude, which made breathing more labored for anyone, regardless of what condition they were in. And I had a very big scene with him and with Richard Lewis the night before he passed away. And I had worked with him for several weeks at that point, but we hadn't really spent an entire day together where we were working intimately on a scene, and I had the opportunity to really talk to him and hang out with him until that day. And we had a really wonderful time, and the scene went very well, and I got a call from him in my room that night, a little after midnight, saying he wished we had shot that scene earlier. It was an indoor scene, so that scene was subject to weather change, so they pushed it at the end of the shoot. But it was actually a scene that established his whole character in the movie. And he said, I wish we'd shot it earlier. I had such a great day. It was so much fun working with you and Richard. And he sounded very wistful and happy, but wistful on the phone. And when I said goodbye and hung up, and then I found out about 7 hours later that he'd passed away. It was really devastating for everyone in the film because he had been so generous and such a warm person to be around. I know he was very devoted to his family, his 2 daughters, and it was difficult for him to be away this long. So it was really, I've never been involved in anything where that sort of a catastrophic tragedy happened, and we had to stop the production and then decide whether to throw the movie away or to try to complete it, and everything went into this sort of limbo where everyone was busy crying and unable to make any decisions. So it was, I'm happy that I had the opportunity to work with him. He was a great, great guy, but it was a very difficult thing to go through. And the movie, unfortunately, is not very successful. It obviously looked much better on paper. It's not a very successful comedy, although it has definite highlights in it. And I was proud to have the opportunity to work with him. It is also, in my body of work, it is the only other funny sideburn part other than Star Trek. I have very funny sideburns in it. This alone is not a great recommendation for the film. I thought, if it's all right, I would sing one of my song parodies about the show. I have, after being asked for years by the fans at different events, I finally made a CD of all of my song parodies. It has 9 original lyric song parodies, almost all of them making fun of the show, me, Viacom Consumer Products, Paramount, Star Trek in general. It's shameless, as you've come to expect from me. It even has a mock Star Trek convention on the CD during one of the songs, where a newly unemployed Star Trek actor is begging for his next convention appearance. That's my personal favorite. And the mock convention has some of my favorite questions I've ever been asked on stage, of which my favorite is in Texas. A woman raised her hand with an absolute delighted smile on her face and said, "How do you get your head so shiny?" So you guys can pretty much ask anything you want, and you won't beat that. But the mock convention is done with affection. I am not making fun of Star Trek fans, except maybe that particular one. And the song where the actor is begging for a convention appearance is too embarrassing to sing in public. But I thought I would sing, and also there's some, R-rated lyrics on 1 or 2 of the songs. I have one dedicated to 7 of 9. But I thought I would sing the 3rd song on the disc. I just wanted to say before that the equivalent of $4 from each one sold is donated to the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation. And every one you buy is either already autographed, or if you're in the autograph line, I will autograph it for you. So it's an absolute bargain. So with no further ado, let me sing the 3rd song. "16 hours, and what do you get? Another day of shooting on the Voyager set. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the Voyager show." Well, the studio was making undisclosable sums on my little action figure with opposable thumbs. My lawyer said to sue him, "Get your share of the pie, and we'll settle out of court shortly after you die." 16 hours, what do you get? Another day of shooting on the Voyager set. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the Voyager show. Well, I spend every weekend all over the place, promoting the show, autographing my face. The fans are mighty friendly and they laugh from the start, but they laugh at Ethan Phillips, can they tell us apart? 16 hours, and what do you get? Another day of shooting on the Voyager set. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the Voyager show. Well, another day is over and I'm ready to fold. Holograms are screwed 'cause they can never look old. When St. Peter finally calls me, here's one thing I bet. He'll ask if he and Jesus. He'll ask if he and Jesus. He'll ask if he and Jesus can visit the set. What I thought.
I have two questions.
Well,
First
then,
off,
would you ask the second one first?
certainly.
Just to see if you can throw me. That's how good I am.
Was the cigar you put out on your hand in the movie Inner Space real? And the first question was, how much of your work as a hologram have you drawn from the other hologram, Arnold Judas Rimmer?
Okay, that's a fair question because you guys created the television hologram over here. I know that. In answer to your second question, which you asked first, so it's technically your first question, although it was your second. The cigar in Inner Space that I put out in my hand was indeed real. It really hurt. No, they put a little special protecting plate there, and my hand still got pretty hot. But for those of you who have never seen Inner Space, I play a very macho and tough cowboy. An international technology thief of indeterminate national origin, meaning who knows what my accent really is. That was a fun movie. I worked with Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid, and I'm very proud of my ridiculous character. I also appear in a pair of snakeskin bikini brief underwear, which was a big thrill for the snake, I guess. I don't know. In answer to your other question, I frankly don't know much about Red Dwarf as a series. So I would have been happy to steal from that particular actor, but I wasn't familiar enough with his work. So I had to settle for stealing from Dr. Smith from Lost in Space. I just borrowed from him. Don't you think the doctor on Voyager had a little touch of Dr. Smith in him? You know, a little butcher, but kind of, you don't see it, or do you not know Lost in Space? Of course you do. But I didn't steal from that actor, but I'm willing to in the future.
Hi, Bob.
Hello.
It's Chris. Great singing voice, by the way. What was it like filming Tinker, Tenor, Doctor Spy? Because I think we all found that one of the funniest episodes of Voyager. What was it like for you to film it?
Tinker, Tenor, Doctor Spy was obviously a blast to do. First of all, the writer came to me and said, I'm doing a show about the Doctor's daydreams. What would some of the Doctor's daydreams be? Smash cut to the Doctor drawing 7 of 9 nude. That was one of my suggestions. For those of you who didn't see it, and I happen to think that most of you must have if you're true Star Trek fans, Tinker, Tenor, Doctor Spy was the episode where the Doctor's daydreams got out of control, and he couldn't distinguish between his daydreams and reality. And ultimately, he had to play out his daydreams in order to save the ship. It was great fun to do. The opening sequence where the Doctor is singing La Donna Mobile, and Tuvok undergoes the fanfare, and the Doctor manages to heal Tuvok without missing a beat in the song, I thought is really probably the most ridiculous opening to a Star Trek episode that I've ever seen. It's so silly.
Sing it!
How about if I just sing the part in English, okay? Do you want me to do the second half? Rather than, okay. So I've already done the Italian. Tuvok starts to scream. I explained to everyone that he's under the pond farr, stand back. He must mate immediately, or he may hurt someone, something like that. And then I sing, Tuvok, I understand, you are a Vulcan man. You have just gone without for 7 years about. Paris, please find a way to load a hypospray. I will give you the sign, just aim for his behind. Hormones are raging, synapses blazing. It's all so very illogical.
It's the same question you've probably been asked thousands of times.
Yes.
Which is your favourite Star Trek character you've played?
My
And
favorite.
why?
Wow. You know, that's a real hard one because they're all so rich. The writers do such a great job in this show. And nowhere else can an actor have the opportunity to do such wild things and try to make them real. But I don't know. I think each one of them has a favorite moment for me, or a favorite piece of his character. But probably the first one, probably Chorus, because he was the first one, and I was a young actor, just getting, well, younger. I wasn't even young 15 years ago, don't let me kid you. I think because it was so new at that time, it's probably my favorite. But then at the same time, the Romulan in Eye of the Needle had subtleties that Klingons don't have. That's one of the fun things about doing the Klingon, is that you can let everything go every now and again. With the Romulans, you have to be a little more discreet. And that character in particular, even though he's kind of a bad guy, unified all creatures in space by the desire to love our children. And that kind of made him a favorite. Now, I think, on the other hand, the Borg in Two of Nine in Survival Instinct holds. I hold that very dear to my heart because it paid so well. There was so much overtime. I found that very lovely. But you know, they were all so great, and they all had such different facets about them that it's hard to choose. It's hard to choose a favorite. I guess
very
that. Sure. Thank you.
Vaughn.
Hello.
Hello. What can you tell us about the new Enterprise series?
Nothing. It's a big secret. Well, I can tell you that I think it's going to be the best yet. I think it's very cool. They've all been great, but this one has a new approach, and I loved it. I can also tell you that Scott Bakula is one of the nicest guys in the whole world that you will ever meet, and a professional's professional. He was there every moment, both when he was on camera and when he was off. He was back there. You know, a lot of times the lead actors will just have so much to do that they don't feel that they can be there behind the camera when you're on the camera. But Scott would insist that they went to get him if you had to sigh in his direction. If you had to nod in his direction, he wanted to be there for you to do it too. And he's very excited about the piece, as is the rest of the cast, which I think is going to make it something very special. That's, I think, about all I can tell you about the Enterprise without being sued. So I think I'll leave it at that. Lord, don't you people ever go home? Man, what a party. You guys are animals. I had a great time last night, as you can tell by the the shades. You can't look at these eyes close up. They're about to fall out. But I had a great time. I want you to know this is the first time I've ever been to England, and I am so impressed. This is the greatest group of people I have ever met, and I want to thank you for everything you've done. Really great. Gracious and bold and just fun as hell, and thank you.
Different question.
Okay.
My question today is that
I only met you today, or seen you today, and I've been looking out for you in the reruns now, so I can perhaps pick up on some of your acting. The mask that you wear, the makeup you wear is so good. Could you help me cut that down so I can perhaps find some of your acting work? If you could tell me perhaps which shows to concentrate or look for you in, or some of the characters.
You mean in the Star Trek series?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Oh, sure. The first one I did was the Klingon in Next Generation, the Heart of Glory, and you know he's a guy that goes ah.
Yeah, I know that.
Oh, there's kind of a fun story about that. I met somebody the other day in a Klingon uniform who had told me that a friend of hers died. Now there are clubs in the U.S. I don't know if you have them here, where they call themselves Klingon ships. These clubs, and one of her shipmates had died, and they got permission from her family to gather around the coffin and do the Klingon yell. At the funeral, they stood around the coffin, and I went, yeah! And it was done outside, and they said at that moment there was a huge lightning bolt, so they knew that that Klingon had heard that they were sending him off to the Klingon heaven. So I thought that was very cool. But that was the first one. Then I think the next one was Gul Dinar in Deep Space Nine. Then came Telek Ramor in Eye of the Needle. And after that was Glenn Seskal, which was the first time I got the Cardassian right. When I did the Cardassian the first time, I played him a little too much like a Klingon. You know, I saw these neck things, and the makeup often affects how you will choose character traits. And I saw this neck, and I just, you know, my body started tensing up, and I started feeling, well, this guy's got to be uptight, and he's got to be angry the whole time he's on stage. And it turned into more of a Klingon than a Cardassian. And then I realized, Mark Alaimo is a friend of mine, and through watching some of his work, I realized that they consider themselves more elite, and they're kind of the Nazis of the universe. They're mistaken about how wonderful they are, but they think they're very wonderful and very intelligent, and they're real troublemakers. So the second time, I really got the Cardassians right, I think. Then after that, I guess came 2 of 9 in the Survival Instinct, the 3 Borgs who are connected together mentally, you know, and which was great because the overtime was terrific for the Borg. And then I think after that came the Vidian captain in the episode where Tess is trying to take revenge on the ship. And after that was the Alpha, how do you pronounce this? Hirogen? Thank you very much. I'm not very educated in these things. What was next? Is that 9? I don't know, you forget. You know, they all kind of run together after a while. But that's the ones I can remember at the moment. It was a long night. You know. But thank you for the question.
Wondering how you actually felt working on such a big show as Voyager.
This is definitely the largest role I've ever done. I was in practically every scene. I was in a lot of that episode. So this is definitely the largest role I've ever done. I did an Ally McBeal episode about a year before that, and that was a small guest star. And I've done, you know, stage work, things like that. I don't know if you know the musical Grease, but I played Danny Zuko in Grease, which is the John Travolta character. That was interesting. But this is definitely the largest role I've ever done for television, and it was really fun. I mean, I was worried that I would have trouble in terms of coming up with it. Luckily for me, I memorize things quite quickly, so the lines were not a big deal. My dad, I'm kind of the opposite from my dad. My dad has such a hard time learning lines. I'll just drill him with lines, and he has a really hard time with lines. But in terms of interpretation, he's really fast at it. Whereas it takes me a long time to come up with any sort of interpretation. I can memorize it, but I'll just read it to you. So it was tough, but it was really fun. I got to work a whole week and a half on it. It was great.
Are you single?
What's your number? Am I single? Yeah, essentially I am. Pretty much. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello. Thank you for coming. Can I just say that you've been very modest in that the episode that you appeared in had everybody laughing out loud because it was one of the best and funniest episodes that they've probably seen in a long time.
You should have seen the outtakes.
Yeah. What I'm intrigued to know is you've got a very unusual first name, Keegan.
Keegan.
Is it your father? Is he a fan of English soccer by any chance?
Kevin Keegan? Well, actually, I don't have an unusual first name. My first name is John. As is my brother's, as is my dad's, as is my grandpa's on my dad's side, as is my great-great-grandpa's on my dad's side. And interestingly enough, my mom's brother is named John. My mom's sister married a man named John. So their family reunions are great because it's, John, you have a phone call, and 12 of us all run to go to the... So my first name is John, just because that's a family tradition. Also, my dad, being French, he figured, Jean Keegan, God only knows. But, my dad is John Marcel, I'm John Keegan, my brother's John Owen. But because 3 Johns in the house, that wouldn't make any sense. So my mom insisted, no, they're having regular names, we're not gonna all be John. So my name, somebody suggested it. Somebody, you know what? And I met the man, and I forget it. It was at like a dinner party or something. My mom was pregnant at the time, and I said, "Yeah, I don't know. We don't really have a name. He goes, "What about Keegan?" I go, "Oh yeah, that's good. That was it." Whereas my brother, he was like 6 by the time we named him. We just called him Baby. Well, I mean, we still call him Baby, but I mean, no. He was a good like 6 months by the time we named him. We tried Colin. We tried Dashel. My dad thought it would be really cool if his name were Dash De Lancie. He thought that'd be great. But then, of course, my dad thinking ahead thought, oh, what if he's not fast? Then he'll be made fun of. But he is fast. But whatever. So we finally settled on Owen, and that seemed to stick. But we have, videotapes of me going, I want to go play with Baby and things like that because we didn't name my brother. Is he a fan of English soccer? Afraid not.
Well, Owen is also another Liverpool footballer as well, so he is a fan of English soccer.
He's a closet fan of English soccer. No, I know, you'd think it was all Liverpool connected, but I'm afraid it's not. It's, I'm totally into soccer, Champions League stuff. Rome won. Yeah. Sorry. Yes. Oh, we're going to auction things. Oh, we're going to auction something very special. A lot of people have been asking me what it's really like to be, living with Q and all sorts of deep, deep, dark secrets and things like that. And I guess if I had more time, I'd tell deep, dark secrets about Q, but I don't. But I do have something very special.
I can't wait to see.
Oh, yes. Drum roll, please. No. Something for Kate's charity, which benefits Alzheimer's, that, is a very unique item. And I went up and got it for my dad. I'm like, Dad, you know what? We need... something to benefit Kate's charity. So he said, go get something from my drawer. So I did. It is.
What does it say? To boldly go?
Oh, I don't know if you can zoom in on this.
What's the back say?
Now, these are my dad's underwear. I can vouch for that. They're clean, but they have been worn. They're bikini style, which I think are great.
And the size is?
Oh boy. The size is, you'll have to buy them to find out what the size is. Oh my God. So that's 210 over there. That's 210 going once. And think about this long and hard, people, because this is a one-of-a-kind item. That's 210. 210, and I'll draw it on my head, too. Why not? Hey, they're clean, I hope. 210? I think it's a 210.
Yay!
Whoever
yay.
that was, that's 210 going once, twice, and solved.
Come on up. Come on and get your new underwear.
Well, it does say to boldly go, doesn't it? So.
I'm just wondering, what do you think of the impact that Jordan made when she started on First Wave? How did it change the series?
Yeah, it totally changed the series. We'd never had a lead woman before on the show, never had any regular female character at all. And the thing is that she came into a really tight-knit group with Roger Cross and Sebastian Spence and myself. And she couldn't have blended in better. Because of her energy and her personality, it really, really worked. I think for the show, it's an interesting dynamic because it took it off into this whole other direction. But I think it was good. I think it shook things up and opened things up. I thought it was really good. Did you enjoy having her on the show?
I thought it was very good beforehand, but it's even
Yeah.
better still now.
Yeah. No, people, it seemed to do a lot, you know, and a lot of people watch the show as well because of Tracy being on the show.
Thank you very much for that.
Yeah. Cheers. Yes?
Rob, out of all the series you've done, which is the favourite character you've played?
Oh, boy. I really like this guy I played on X-Files quite a lot, which, that was in the first season. I enjoyed that a lot. I mean, that was kind of a predecessor to Crazy Eddie. I mean, I gotta say overall, Crazy Eddie's been the best character because it's been able to evolve over 3 years. To be able to have somebody that you play and be able to live with and continue on is a gas. So that's been the best thing. But the best role of all is actually being a father. I have a 2-year-old son now, and that's been the most incredible thing, is having a little boy running around who's skateboarding. My 2-year-old son is skateboarding now, which is absurd.
Does Tracy Elizabeth Lord still bake you brownies?
Is she still making brownies? Yes, I imagine she is, yeah.
But does she bake you any?
She baked me brownies, yes. And different kinds of cakes. She makes an incredible chocolate cherry cake. Yeah, Tracy is a really good cook. She bakes a lot of food all the time. She'd come in and she'd ask Roger, ask Sebastian and myself, what do you want? What kind of cookies do you want? What kind of cakes do you want? And she'd come in and she'd do that for relaxation. She'd go home after a shoot and she'd bake. So yeah, very tasty. You know, this last time, the funny thing again about being in prosthetic makeup and being wearing this Talaxian makeup is that you kind of forget that you're wearing the makeup. So when you're not acting, all of a sudden you're hanging out and you're talking to people. And in the last episode, Homestead was directed by LeVar Burton, who's an incredible guy and a fantastic director, a real actor's director. And one of the days of shooting, Lawrence Fishburne came to the set, and he and LeVar are friends, and they were discussing some project of some sort. Now, I had worked with Lawrence Fishburne on a film called What's Love Got to Do with It? I played Phil Spector, the record producer. And so I spent a week with Lawrence working a few years ago and have met him a number of times through mutual friends since then. And so he was on set, and I'm walking up, and it's like I had a break, and I'm sitting there, and he and LeVar are talking, and I'm just sort of standing there waiting for it to break, and all of a sudden he looks up at me, and I said, hey, how you doing, Lawrence? How's it going? And he's just kind of looking at me a little scared, and he didn't know what to say, and all of a sudden I realized, oh, shit. Yeah, I mean, I look like a Talaxian. I said, Lawrence, it's Rob Labelle. He's like, oh, Phil Spector. Oh, yeah, oh, man, I mean, how the hell did you think I could recognize who you are? And it's just kind of wild because, of course it's not. And then everything was okay and it was all right. But, at first he just thought I was some freaky Talaxian fan who wanted to stalk him.
Hey, Rob. Just want to, you obviously go through all your makeup and that's fine, all your hours you do it. Have you actually ever, scratched yourself and realized, damn, and you've got to go back into makeup again?
Well,
Do you get a lot of that?
Yeah, that does happen at times. I mean, you get used to a certain way, and after being in prosthetics for so many times, for so many shows, you get used to, you can't scratch your head. That's totally foamed up, and you sweat, and so there's a way of scratching where you just have to hit the head, because if you go like that, if you were to tear the top you'd be really screwed, because then you'd have to redo the whole thing. That has never happened. You just somehow know that the entire production would shut down if you ripped your head open. But the makeup and all that, yeah, that's sometimes, and then you have to go for retouches. There's one makeup guy assigned to everybody who's in prosthetics, right? So in Homestead, there was, 3 main people, and then there was all the other people. There was another 25 extras who had prosthetics. But yeah, especially if you're eating food or drinking, you got to have a straw, and you have to have things really mushy so you can eat it easily and you have a straw. But sometimes you screw up, and then people have to sit and redo stuff. So there's always retouches happening, but, yeah, sometimes you screw it up, and you just got to take the time to do it.
Has a production actually ever been delayed due to a mistake like that, or?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sure, very much so. I mean, Ethan probably tell you that better than me, having been in it much longer. But, yeah, production has to be delayed at times for repairs, because it's the camera. It's not lying. It's right there. And people are going to see cracks, and if it opens up. And also the problem is if you start sweating a lot, stuff will start peeling, and sweat actually starts going through these appliances,
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. There's one time, actually, it was the first time that I was working on First Wave. It was the very first day where I'm getting in this car with Sebastian Spence, and we're supposed to be driving the Cadillac out really fast, and they said in the rehearsal, why don't you put your speed out and let's get going. And I put the pedal to the metal, and this Cadillac we were driving all of a sudden started accelerating to the point of it was going about 75 miles an hour in about 4 seconds flat. I'm looking behind me, and we're in a concrete factory, concrete yard, and we're going back, and all I could do was steer it and slam it into the craft services building. And next to me, I got the lead actor who was screwed up, and the whole Cadillac was completely totaled, and everybody, of course, thought that I had done that and that I was just a horrible driver. They didn't let me touch the Cadillac for the next 3 years. But it wasn't my fault. The linkage was screwed up, but within seconds, I had friends calling me from Los Angeles, from Toronto, all over the place saying, what the hell did you do? I mean, you almost killed the lead actor, and so it wasn't so much of a practical joke, but the joke was that I couldn't drive and that I should never be allowed to touch the Cadillac anymore, which then we tried to work into the set somehow, but, what can you do? It was the first day of work. I guess I was a little nervous.
I'm waving at you.
Oh, I see, okay.
So, 4 years ago, when Brent Spiner was here...
Oh, I see, okay.
The tech crew put a message up on the screen that said, is the Borg Queen snoggable? Would you say Brent Spiner was snoggable?
Oh, absolutely. Wouldn't you agree? What did he say? What did Brent say?
He was embarrassed and didn't want to answer the question.
Oh, well, that's too bad of him. What? Oh, great, yeah.
In First Contact, when your head and shoulders were coming down, what did you think about that when you saw it on screen?
They had said to me that this was going to be the most amazing entrance of all time. And the first time I saw it was when I went to revoice the role. Because there was so much heavy machinery on set, I had to revoice the whole role both times. And I got there, and what happened was that her head came down here, and her body was here. And there was this glitch, this jump. And I thought, oh my God, that doesn't really work. But I kept my mouth shut, and I came back 3 weeks later to do some more, and it was still, it just didn't work. And when I saw it at the press screening, I was astounded, because it was what we all saw. And apparently, they had had a team of industrial light and magic people just working on getting it right. Because how we had filmed it was that they made a full body cast of me for the suit, and obviously one of my head for the makeup. And when they did that, they made a little cradle that was from here to here, and they lashed the cradle to a crane, and the cradle was horizontal, and then they laid me on the cradle. They tied me down, you'll be glad to hear, and they wrapped me up in blue screen cloth. And then they took me up on the crane, about, I guess, 30 or 40 feet in the air, And then they brought me down in the sort of route that we saw and deposited